My dear friends, the first day of the liturgical year places us before the one reality that counts, the omega point, where we're heading for, the King, from whom there is no escape, coming on the clouds of heaven and having the last word. Indeed, quite clearly, heaven and earth itself, the cosmos, will pass away, but my words will not pass away. That means that when this ball of existence that we know as earth has been folded up in the distant past of cosmic history, and our souls have gone into the beyond as long as they were perhaps, we thought, everlasting, but no, they were not. All will be ended except for that one word, which is his last and our first. All the noise that the most noisy man on earth makes in this world is hushed, and then the Alpha and the Omega has the last word, which decides all the aeons to come without break or interruption and without ending. All because of what use we made of one tiny fraction which we call life, a point on the map of eternity in which all is evermore played irreversibly. The other day, my friend Father Michael Marr called along with his beard, and we had a time of sharing. I like his saying when he quotes an old confrere of his who reflected on noise in school. Hell is full of noise. A noisy person is a friend of the one that emits it. Listen to this. You may have heard of the great exorcist of Rome, still alive, but now an old man, Gabriele Amort. This is a book of his testimonies. But here we have a paragraph which sums it all up. Compare with the world, say, of RTE and see how it scores against this paragraph. We can see the hand of Satan in every hypocritical and powerful lie against the truth. We can identify the prodding of the devil wherever love is absent, dead, and where selfishness is cold, cruel, and so on, and where the name of Jesus is defamed with conscious and rebellious hatred. St. Paul tells us, whoever denies Jesus Christ, anathema sit, may he be accursed or condemned. The condemnation goes to the demon who is behind man's denial. The devil is also active where the spirit of the gospel is mystified and contradicted. Mysticism. Be careful of mysticism. The word begins in mist and ends in schism. He achieves victory wherever despair has the final word. Despair is very much a fashion amongst the youth of today. Let's have a quick suicide. The suicide alternative is the easy end, the shortcut out of it all. But then, my friends, and only then, does the scenario irreversibly begin, and there's no coming back. I often think, as I hear all these cries from young people or about young people who are taking this course, how sad it is that life now is thrown back very quickly in the face of its giver. This I picked up this morning. You can't see it from where you are. It's just cutting from a few minutes after the death of a typical Irish soldier in the trench in the First World War. And although there are shells all around, you can see on the face of these Irish men with good Irish faces round about something of a last tear and farewell. 1 minute he was there, now he is not, and they too probably are heading in the same direction. And we can't be bothered. We throw it back because the struggle is too hard. I'm here actually because my grandfather was not taken because of a defect in one eye. His brother who was hit by a grenade right in the head in the trench. And my father also existed because he had to come back because of the worst attack of asthma he'd ever had on the way to Burma, where if they were taken, they were tortured terribly, as you know, by the Japs. And he was actually in Germany studying German and living there with a friend in 1938. And the prof said, let's call Idris back. There's something brewing. And so life carried on, just through one tiny, tiny channel that could easily have stopped. We forget how precious our existence is. And what have we done with it? I picked this up this morning too. This you can just about see. It's bigger. It's a typical scene in one of our universities or offices in our day. What we now refer to as burnout. In fact, only this day week, I went to see a friend who was nearly at that point in university in Dublin. She got through it, but this is what sometimes the academic pressure puts us under. It also leads to suicide, as we know. But without going that far, this can actually be in some form our own existence if we're not careful. Quality of life is subservient to deadlines. We are contaminating our own interior sphere because of what is less than our soul. The material is powerful over the immaterial, and our own immortal soul is becoming a slave of what is outside it. And the quality of life has gone in the short time that we had it in our possession. I picked this up again, which I already have quoted to you, and I won't quote again fully, but just a couple of lines. This you can see, an authentic portrait. It's one of our youngest poets and one of our greatest, John Keats. He was 26 when he died of consumption. He was a medical student and he was caring for his brother who was dying of consumption, what we call tuberculosis, TB. And he'd given up medical studies because he realized he had this genius for poetry. But then, different from what he thought was going to be the future, a long future, and far more than this, but something perhaps like Shakespeare with regard to its volume, he started himself to cough blood. And being a medic, he knew what that meant, and saw the future just being clipped before it was woven. And then, in tears, wrote this heart-rending sonnet, which starts, I just started to finish it because it shows what time is when we have no more. When I have fears that I may cease to be, before my pen has gleamed my teeming brain. And then he had a girlfriend, Fanny Brown. He cries out to her on the horizon, and when I feel, fair creature of an hour, that I shall never look upon thee more, never have relish in the fairy power of unreflecting love. Then on the shore of the wide world I stand alone and think till love and fame to nothingness do sink. Now, with regard to what youth now is going into, sometimes the Lord gets through to them. And you know that when it comes to complete and utter defeat, a soul at last cries out. And that's when you'll get through to even a young person, when everything else has failed. And don't be ashamed of your Catholic faith. Don't be afraid of the signs of its presence. I am pleasantly surprised as I go around Europe sometimes to see how very much present our Catholic faith and practice is where you would not expect it. This very well prepared Sunday bulletin and meditation, pictures and profound meditation was just in not a major airport, Bergamo. The care taken by a young chaplain to reach those who are passing just into an aeroplane, and they're dropping in and getting the message. Not long ago, I was on the platform of one of the busiest stations in Italy, Florence, and it went something like this in Italian. The next train on platform 3 is the 11:30 to Rome, and so on. And on it went, and suddenly at 11 o'clock there will be Holy Mass in the chapel, and on it went to the next train. And I thought, that is interesting. Right in the middle of life, the church beats calmly and has its place on centre stage. And indeed, still every year they call me back to have that little presence in the heart of Italian life. All the houses, shops and offices individually are blessed. And you go right into the main street, everything stops, and no one says a word. And young people take it as part of their life. I was quite impressed just the other time when they put the music off, young though they were, they prayed, and even this young lassie said, "Can I add something too?" and put something in the bag, which they often give as an offering. Why be shy? The soul is the same for every member of this human race. Faith is, after all, what we've all got to face, and even agnosticism is a faith. All I say to you, my friends, is this: have the means to dialogue and plug in to where you find them. Because the questions of life are always fundamentally the same. And if you believe in what you believe, know why you believe it. And never get into an argument, but with great serenity, show them the way. E.g., point to, yes, a modern YouTube or whatever it might be, which will do the work for you. So know how to handle your source material. Truth is on our side. And true love of humanity is love and mercy for the immortal soul right before you. The one that divine providence sends to you. For in the last resort, my friend, one day we too will be judged not just on what we've done wrong, but on what we've been too shy to do when the time came when perhaps the Lord wanted us to say in His name the word that perhaps would change all eternity.
Lines written near Keats's tomb in Rome in student days. To leave a word that will be heard a while when we have ceased to be beyond the shore of this wide world, and yet beguile the thieving death moth and the eerie wand that struck ere pen had gleaned the teeming brain. To stand very still, where stillness stands, against the rush of passing. And again be heard without a voice, but only hands. This is to halt a second in its course, and bid it hold an aeon. 'Tis to call the unknown passer-by to intercourse of soul with lying soul that has said all. This is, my friend, to hold on to the end of youth and beauty that no time can mend.